What's up guys, my name is Greg and in this video I'll cover how to connect your Bubble application to ChatGPT or OpenAI APIs. If you're new to the channel, in this series I'm doing a walkthrough of Bubble.io to explore the basic functionality that you need to get started creating a web application that connects to different third parties and charge a subscription. Before getting started, let's cover some of the basics about OpenAI. OpenAI is the company behind ChatGPT, and they offer a wide range of services that you can integrate into your application via their APIs. This allows you to connect your application to AI models like ChatGPT, to be able to create text content or have some kind of chat interaction. You can also connect it to a model like DALL-E, which will provide you with AI-generated images, or Whisper API, which can transcribe speech into text. When it comes to OpenAI's APIs, those are just tools at your disposal. But in terms of use cases and businesses that can be created out of this, you're only limited by your ideas and imagination. One of the most popular use cases is for content creation, like writing blogs and articles designed for SEO content, copywriting, stock image generation, and others. But in this video, I'm using ChatGPT to improve users' resumes. So let's get into it. As in my previous videos, I've already prepared some simple components to get the basic layout of the app out of the way so we can focus on the functionality and the integration with ChatGPT. In the app page, I got a couple of text items to serve as titles. But the main elements are the text input where the user types what they need help with in the resume, and the text elements where the answer is going to be displayed, and the button that triggers the request to ChatGPT. To make the connection to ChatGPT, we're going to use the API connector, which enables us to send requests directly to any API. And to know how ChatGPT API works, we need to go to their website and have a look at their documentation. Now we are in the developer website for OpenAPI. From here, you can obtain a lot of information about the functionality of OpenAI's APIs and what you're able to do with it and the different models that are available. For this video, we'll focus on Completions API, which is like talking to the ChatGPT model. So we head back to Quick Start, scroll to step 3, making an API request. And this is the code that you need to make a request to the API. You will notice that this is the same as if you go to the capabilities section under text generation, select chat completions, except that chat completions is a bit more detailed, but it is the same. Now that we have this code as a guide to build our request, we can go back to Bubble. Navigate to the plugins menu and click on Add New Plugin, and install the API connector. Click on Add Another API. I will call this ChatGPT Completion. Set the authentication field to private in the header. This will add another couple of fields like key name and key value. Key name is already pre-filled as authorization, and key value is where you will put your OpenAI API key. Below we name the request or the calls. So I will rename the API to ChatGPT API and call the request post chat completion. Set the method of the request to post. Now we need the URL of the request, which we get from the documentation in the OpenAI website. Copy-paste that into this field. We also need to send some data of what we want with the request. So for now, I use the data that's provided in the example. I will edit this later. As in this example data, we're passing in some extra content that we don't really need. For now, it's fine to try as it is. Remember that we have not added the key value in the authorization header, so I'm expecting this to fail. We initialize the call and we get an error. This error is coming from OpenAI API. And it says that we did not provide the API key. To get the key, we go back to the OpenAI developer website. Go to the API keys section and click on Create New Secret Key. I will name this Bubble Demo, then copy it. We go back to Bubble. And in the key value field, you should have the word bearer, followed by a space, and then you paste the key. That's the format that OpenAI expects for this type of requests, and it is also important that you don't share this key anywhere, as it could be used to make requests in your behalf, and that can get really expensive. Now, if we initiate the call again, the call is successful and Bubble shows us all the values that come from the response. If you scroll to the bottom, you will see the Show Raw Data. Now, based on the data that we sent, this response makes sense, since the sample data was asking about the World Series and where it was played. Let's save this and go back to the API connector. We don't need this extra content in the data, so I'll remove some of it. We just need two objects to customize the responses from OpenAI. The role tells the API how it should interpret or define the content. In this case, the role has the word system. That's the ChatGPT. The content is telling the system that it should behave as a helpful assistant. The next object has the role of user. This is telling ChatGPT that this is the content that is coming from the user. For our use case, I'm going to modify the content for the system. And in this case, I will use ChatGPT to write this for me. So I try to tell ChatGPT that I need the description for an assistant with focus on resumes. It gives me an answer, but it is not in the format that I want, so I tell it to use the format that the request needs. Now it provides the content in the right format and we can use it in the API connector. So let's paste that into the API request body. To test this still works, I change the content of the user to be something related to the system content, like advisor resume. Let's initialize the call again. And we get an answer. Now we want to be able to make the request, but with the text the user inputs into the app. To do that, we use the following format in the body of the request: quotes and angle brackets. Bubble will replace what's inside the angle brackets with the value you provide as a parameter. And it will add that parameter as part of the request builder. For now, I'll use the sample text in the value of the parameter, and we can try the request again. If we now go to the raw data in the response, we can see the answers from ChatGPT. One important thing to change in the API request is the useAsk value. This should be changed from data to action, so that Bubble knows to surface this in the workflows when triggering an action. Otherwise, it will not show up. Now let's go back to the workflows menu. Here, I already set up a workflow for when the button send is clicked. The action for this will be under the plugins section. And we can see the ChatGPT API post chat completion, which is the name we gave to our API and requests. When that is clicked, it will have the user text as parameter in the pop-up. This text that shows up is the one that I added as an example, but this should come directly from the text input that the user is interacting with. So let's change this to be dynamic data. And scroll for the input text from the design and select that. And its value as the input for user text. The next step in the workflow is to grab the response from the API in the previous step and change the text in the UI. To do that, we need to set the state of the text element that shows the answer. So we click to add an action. Under element actions, click on set state. On the pop-up, we select the elements that we want to change. In this case, that's the text answer element. And for the custom state, we click on create a new custom state. I will call this state answer_content. And the type is going to be text. And we hit create. Now we need to set the value that's going to go into that text element. That's going to be the result of step 1. As you can see, there is a lot of options in here. We need to check what's the format of the response from the previous step. So we go back to ChatGPT to have a look at the sample responses. The format is an object that comes with a list of choices. Sometimes ChatGPT might reply with multiple answers at once, but in this case there's only one. And the answer can be found inside the first one, and inside the message object, that is the content. So if we go back to Bubble, we can now select body's choices, the first item, which is the first item in the list of choices, and then message content. Now we can go back and hook up the UI to the response from the API. I have a text element called text answer. Since we set up a custom state, we need to use that state in the text element as the text. So we click on the text field where you usually write the content and search for the text answer and select text answers answer_content under the custom states. This is basically telling this text element to use its own custom state that we named answer_content as the content. Now that it's all connected, we can go ahead and preview the functionality. The first time that I'm trying this, I will ask a generic question from someone in the text space looking for a better structure in the resume. Let's see what it answers. Okay, so it came up with a good structure for this person's resume. I think the structure is on point with what I would expect from someone sending out resumes. The next question that I ask is a bit more complex. As I am adding a career change. And it wants me to give it my current resume, and it's also asking for potential job postings that I might apply to, so that it can tailor the response to those job listings. Now that we got the ChatGPT component working, let's talk about some of the things that could make this application better. If this application is meant to help people with their resumes, I can imagine users wanting to upload their existing resumes to the application and have the system improve the resumes and give you an updated version of the resume. Users could upload a PDF file and then get the updated version of the resume to download. Or this could even be turned into a website or website resume. Another improvement is to allow the chat to continue in the same page, similar to ChatGPT, where the history of the chat remains in the page. To do this, you need to save the questions created by the user and the answers provided by ChatGPT into the Bubble database. One other feature I would add is to allow the user to provide the application with a link to the job posting that they're applying to. This way, the application can give better suggestions that adapt the resume to the job posting that they're applying to. And of course, to make this application complete and more usable, we need to take care of error handling and improving the whole onboarding process. But all of that is outside of the scope of these videos, but let me know in the comments if this is something that you would like to see. And that brings us to the end of the video and the first series of Bubble. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.